I used to believe that working hard was the key to success, that as long as I proved my worth, I would advance in my career. But I was wrong, because in my boss's eyes, there was only one way for a woman to get promoted. My name is Sophia, and I'm a 27-year-old marketing specialist at Next Tech Solutions, one of the top tech companies in the industry. For 3 years, I had poured my heart and soul into this job, working late nights, handling high-pressure campaigns, and securing major contracts. My name was attached to some of the company's biggest successes, and I had every reason to believe that this was my moment. The company was about to release the quarterly promotion list, and I was confident that I'd finally be rewarded for my dedication. But then, I noticed something unsettling. Despite my clear contributions, I watched as less qualified male colleagues got promoted ahead of me. Some of them had even made critical mistakes in past projects, yet they were suddenly moving up the ladder. At first, I told myself not to overthink it. Maybe it was just office politics. But then my boss, Richard, began acting differently toward me. It started with small, seemingly innocent gestures. He began calling me into his office for unnecessary meetings that never seemed to have a real purpose. He started texting me after hours, asking questions that weren't work-related. His compliments about my performance started feeling too personal, not about my skills, but about me. And then came the night that changed everything. During a company happy hour, Richard found an excuse to pull me aside. While the others were distracted, he stepped closer than necessary, and before I could react, I felt his hand brush against my lower back. I froze. He leaned in and whispered, "Sophia, we need to have a serious talk about your future here." A cold shiver ran down my spine. His voice was calm, calculated, and full of implication. I forced a polite smile, took a step back, and laughed it off. I wanted to believe I had misunderstood, that maybe I was overanalyzing the situation. But the way he looked at me, that told me otherwise. The next morning, I arrived at work feeling unsettled. Was I being paranoid? Was I imagining things? Then, just before 9 a.m., a message popped up in my inbox. Subject, meeting with Richard, 10 a.m. Hi Sophia, Richard would like to discuss an important matter regarding your role in the company. Please meet him in his office at 10 a.m. My stomach dropped. I had been in meetings with Richard before, but something about this one felt different. Deep down, I knew. This wasn't just a regular meeting. This was a test. And I had no idea how far my boss was willing to go. I took a deep breath before stepping into Richard's office. I had no idea what to expect, but I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't going to be a normal meeting. Richard sat behind his massive glass desk, sipping from an expensive-looking coffee mug. His eyes flicked up to me, and a slow smile spread across his face. "Sophia, come in, close the door." I hesitated for a second, but then obeyed. The click of the door shutting behind me sent a shiver down my spine. He gestured to the chair across from him. I sat down, placing my hands firmly in my lap to keep them from shaking. Richard leaned forward, steepling his fingers together. "So," he began, "I'm sure you've noticed the latest promotions." I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. "It's unfortunate, really. You've done exceptional work. I personally think you deserve to be on that list." I swallowed hard, but stayed silent. Richard's eyes never left mine as he continued. "The thing is, Sophia, there's more to getting ahead in a company like this than just hard work." I felt my stomach twist. "Relationships matter," he said, his voice dropping slightly, "especially the right ones." I didn't move, didn't blink. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. "Sophia, I want to help you. I see real potential in you. You're smart, ambitious, and you're not like the others." The way he said "the others" made my skin crawl. You have the ability to go far, but you need someone in your corner. Someone who can make sure you don't get overlooked. He let the words hang in the air, watching me carefully. I forced my voice to stay steady. "And what exactly would that involve?" Richard leaned back in his chair, exhaling like this was the most natural conversation in the world. "Sophia, let's not pretend. You know how things work." He paused, giving me a knowing smile before continuing. "Many women have been in your position before. Some of them understood how to play the game, and now they're in executive roles." I clenched my fists under the desk. "I could help you. We could make this mutually beneficial." There it was. The thin veil of professionalism had disappeared. This was a proposition. A transaction. My stomach churned, but I forced myself to stay calm. So let me get this straight, I said, tilting my head slightly. You're offering to promote me if I make an effort to get closer to you? Richard chuckled, shaking his head. No, you make it sound so transactional. He smirked. I just think we should get to know each other better. Outside of work. I felt bile rise in my throat. I see. He smiled wider, as if he thought I was considering it. There's no rush, of course. Take your time. Think about it. He stood up, signaling the meeting was over. But don't wait too long. Opportunities like this don't come around often. I rose from my chair, keeping my expression neutral as I nodded and turned toward the door. Oh, and Sophia? I froze, hand hovering over the doorknob. You're a smart woman. I'd hate to see you stuck in the same role forever. A veiled threat, clear as day. I pushed the door open and walked out, my legs feeling like lead. As soon as I was back at my desk, I let out a shaky breath. My hands were trembling. I had worked hard for years. I had built a reputation as one of the most competent marketing specialists in the company. And now, I was being given a sickening ultimatum: play along or get left behind. But I wasn't the only one. I thought back to Richard's words. Many women have been in your position before. Had he done this before? How many careers had he sabotaged? How many women had given in just to survive? I needed answers. That night, I started making calls. I needed to find out the truth. I reached out to a former employee, Sarah, a woman who had mysteriously left the company a year ago despite being one of the top performers. She answered after the third ring. Sophia, wow, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. What's up? Sarah, I need to ask you something about Richard. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then, finally, she spoke. He made you an offer, didn't he? A chill ran down my spine. It happened to you too, didn't it? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Not just me, she said bitterly. There were others. I gripped my phone tighter. What happened? Sarah exhaled. I refused him, and suddenly I started getting shut out of meetings, my projects were reassigned, and my workload doubled. A few months later, I was fired for performance issues. My stomach twisted. Sarah's voice was sharp when she continued. Listen to me, Sophia. If he's targeting you, you need to be careful. Richard doesn't like hearing no. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. This was bigger than just me. Richard was a predator, and he had been getting away with this for years. Not anymore. I wasn't going to let this happen to me. I wasn't going to let this happen to anyone else. It was time to fight back. I barely slept that night. My mind kept replaying my conversation with Sarah, each word sinking deeper into my gut. If he's targeting you, you need to be careful. Richard doesn't like hearing no. I knew Sarah wasn't exaggerating. Richard was powerful. He controlled promotions, projects, and ultimately people's careers. If I rejected him outright, what would happen to me? Would I be shut out like Sarah? Would I suddenly become a problematic employee? I had to be smart about this. I needed a plan. The next morning, I arrived at work determined to act as if nothing had happened. But Richard was already making his move. My biggest project, one I had worked on for months, was reassigned without explanation. My workload mysteriously doubled, filled with menial tasks that had nothing to do with my role. Emails I sent to clients were suddenly being lost, and my requests for approvals were ignored. At first, I tried to convince myself that it was just paranoia. But then I saw the email, subject, reassignment of responsibilities. Hi Sophia. Due to restructuring, we have decided to shift the leadership of your current campaign to another team. You will be assisting with administrative support instead. Let us know if you have any concerns. Regards, HR Administrative Support. My heart pounded as I read those words over and over. Richard wasn't wasting time. He was making good on his silent threat. Later that day, as I sat at my desk staring blankly at my overflowing inbox, a new message popped up. Richard, I hope you're doing okay, Sophia. I know these changes can be frustrating. If you'd like to talk about it, my door is always open. My stomach twisted. He was toying with me. He wanted me to feel helpless, to feel like my only option was to go back to him and accept his help. I clenched my fists. That was never going to happen. I had already recorded our conversation in his office, but that wasn't enough. I needed undeniable proof that he was systematically targeting me. So I started tracking everything. I took screenshots of my reassigned projects. I documented every instance of work being mysteriously lost. I saved all my emails and forwarded important ones to my personal account. I even confided in a few trusted colleagues. It's weird, one of them admitted. You used to be CC'd on all the marketing decisions. Now it's like you don't even exist. Exactly. Richard wasn't just punishing me, he was erasing me. That afternoon, I was sitting in the break room, staring at my coffee, when someone sat down across from me. I looked up and saw Lisa, the head of HR. "Hey," she said carefully, "can I talk to you for a second?" I straightened, feeling my pulse quicken. "Of course." Lisa hesitated before speaking. "I've noticed some concerning things happening with your workload recently." I didn't say anything, but I could feel my grip tightening on my coffee cup. "And I also noticed," she continued, "that Richard has been spending a lot of time around your desk lately." I inhaled sharply. "Sophia, I know what's going on." For the first time in days, hope flickered inside me. "You're not the first." My breath caught. "So it's true," I whispered. Lisa nodded grimly. "I can't say much, yet, but if you have any documentation, any proof, I suggest you keep collecting it." I wanted to tell her right then and there that I had recordings, emails, a full case ready to go, but I wasn't sure who I could fully trust yet. "Thanks, Lisa," I said instead. "I appreciate it." She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Just be careful. Richard's not stupid. If he thinks you're turning against him, he'll make sure you don't have a career left to fight for." By the end of the week, things had gotten even worse. My access to key company files had been revoked. My login credentials for internal databases mysteriously stopped working. I was removed from every major project I had worked on. And then, the final blow came. I was called into HR for a performance review. I walked in, my stomach twisted in knots. Richard was already there, sitting across from Lisa and another HR executive. His smile was casual, friendly, almost amused. "Sophia, we just wanted to discuss some concerns regarding your recent performance." Performance? I had barely been allowed to do my job. Lisa avoided my gaze, her expression tight. I knew what this was. Richard was setting the stage. He was going to build a case against me, fabricate reasons to fire me, just like he had done to Sarah. As I sat there, listening to Richard spin his web of lies, something inside me snapped. I had spent years building my career. I had worked too hard to let someone like him take it away from me. I was done playing defense. I forced a smile and leaned forward. "Thank you for your feedback, Richard," I said sweetly. "Actually, I've been meaning to set up a meeting with you." His smirk faltered. "Oh?" I nodded. "Yes. I think it's time we had a very serious conversation." For the first time, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Uncertainty. Because what he didn't know was that I had a plan. And this time, I was the one setting the trap. I walked out of the HR meeting with my head held high, but my mind was racing. Richard had made his move. Now it was my turn. I knew exactly what he was doing, pushing me toward a forced resignation. He wanted me gone before I could make trouble. But I had no intention of leaving quietly. That night, I finalized my plan. Secure more evidence. I had recordings of Richard's advances, but I needed proof of his retaliation. I set up a fake email account and forwarded myself every suspicious work email. I kept logs of missing files, reassigned projects, and HR complaints. Make him feel safe. If Richard suspected I was fighting back, he would tighten control and make my life even worse. So I had to make him believe I was breaking down. I acted defeated, avoiding eye contact, staying quiet in meetings, letting him think I was crumbling. And then I sent him a message. "I think I was too emotional before. Can we talk?" Richard responded immediately. "Richard, of course, Sophia. I knew you'd come around. Let's meet after work. My place?" My stomach turned. He wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. But I played along. I'd prefer somewhere neutral. "A hotel bar?" A pause. "Smart girl, 8 p.m. Grand Royal Hotel. See you then." At 8 p.m. sharp, I walked into the Grand Royal Hotel bar, dressed in soft, neutral tones. Nothing flashy, nothing attention-grabbing. I needed to look hesitant, vulnerable. Richard was already there, a glass of whiskey in hand. He smiled as I approached. "Sophia," he said smoothly. "I knew you'd make the right decision." I forced a small smile, sitting across from him. "I just don't want any more problems, Richard." He leaned in, lowering his voice. "You won't have problems if you trust me." I nodded, pretending to waver. I need to know I'm safe, that I won't regret this. Richard's smile widened. He thought he had won. You'll be safe with me. He reached for my hand, and that's when I made my move. As soon as his fingers brushed mine, my phone vibrated. I pulled back, grabbing it quickly. I think I forgot to turn off my recording app. Weird, it's been running this whole time. Richard's smirk vanished. What? I tilted my phone just enough for him to see the red recording symbol. Oops, his face drained of color. Sophia, delete that, right now. I stood up, slipping my phone into my pocket. We'll talk later, Richard. I just wanted to make sure I got everything clear. Then I walked out, leaving him frozen in place. Because for the first time, he was the one who felt trapped. I walked out of the hotel bar with my heart pounding, but my steps steady. I had just flipped the script, and Richard had no idea how badly he had screwed up. He thought I was an easy target. He thought I was scared. But now, he was the one who had something to lose. The next morning, I put the final phase of my plan into motion. I wasn't just going to expose Richard, I was going to make sure there was no way he could escape. Here's what I did. I sent an anonymous tip to HR. Using a burner email, I forwarded them the recorded conversations and screenshots of his messages. I made it clear that if they didn't act, the recordings would be leaked elsewhere. I contacted Lisa from HR directly. I trusted her enough to know she wouldn't cover for him. I told her everything, and then I played the hotel bar recording. Lisa's face went pale. Sophia, this is enough to bury him, I nodded. Then let's do it. I looped in my allies. Over the past week, I had quietly gathered other women Richard had harassed. Some were too afraid to come forward, but others were ready. We coordinated, making sure we all filed complaints at the same time. I planned a grand finale. Richard loved attention, so I was going to make sure he had an audience for his downfall. That Friday, the company held its quarterly all-hands meeting, where executives gave updates and announced major promotions. Richard, of course, was one of the speakers. He stood on stage, smiling like he owned the place. Here at Nextech, we believe in integrity, leadership, and above all, respect in the workplace. I almost laughed. Not for long, Richard. I stood up. Excuse me, I said loudly. I have something important to share. The room went silent. Every executive turned toward me confused. Richard, I think it's time everyone hears the truth about what respect in the workplace really means to you. Richard's smile faltered. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the conference room speakers, and hit play. If you want to move up, Sophia, you need to be willing to play the game. Many women before you have taken this opportunity, and now they're thriving. Don't be stupid, Sophia. I can make you, or I can break you. The entire room froze, gasps, shocked whispers, and then chaos. Richard lunged forward, trying to shut off the recording. This is taken out of context, he shouted. She's lying. But before he could reach me, Lisa stood up. HR has already received multiple complaints against you, Richard. We have undeniable proof of harassment and retaliation. Richard's face turned ghostly white. Effective immediately, you are placed on unpaid suspension pending an internal investigation. Security will escort you out. Richard started to argue, but then a security guard grabbed his arm. As Richard was dragged out, the room erupted into noise. People whispered, some cheered, and then one of my coworkers stood up and clapped. Then another, and another, until the entire room was applauding. I stood there, taking it all in. I had done it. Richard was finished. I stood in the conference room, heart pounding, as Richard was dragged out by security. It was over. For weeks I had endured his games, his power plays, his veiled threats, but now, he was the one powerless. The moment the doors closed behind him, the room exploded into whispers. Did that really just happen? I knew he was creepy, but wow. She took him down in front of everyone. I didn't care what they were saying, I just let myself breathe. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't afraid anymore. As soon as the meeting ended, Lisa from HR pulled me aside. Sophia, this is huge. You just took down one of the highest-ranking executives in the company. I nodded, my pulse still racing. What happens now? I asked. Lisa sighed. Officially, Richard is suspended pending investigation. But let's be real, he's done. The board won't protect him after this. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. By the end of the day, Richard's name was already scrubbed from the company website. An email went out to the entire company. Effective immediately, Richard Green has been placed on indefinite leave. Next Tech Solutions does not tolerate workplace misconduct. I could only imagine his reaction when he read that. Monday morning felt different. People who once avoided eye contact with me now smiled and nodded in respect. A few coworkers even stopped by my desk to say, "Thank you for doing what we were all too scared to do." HR sent out an anonymous employee survey, encouraging people to report past harassment. The power in the office had shifted, and for the first time, it felt like a place I actually wanted to work. Of course, Richard didn't go down without a fight. The day after his suspension, I got an angry text from an unknown number. "Unknown, you think you've won? You have no idea who you're messing with." I smirked. "Oh, but I did. And I had one last card to play." That night, I forwarded Richard's messages and recorded conversations to a journalist. By morning, an article was trending: "Top tech executive caught in workplace harassment scandal." It included direct quotes from my recordings, statements from other women who came forward after I exposed him, testimonies about how he ruined careers for years. Richard's fate was sealed. By the end of the week, Richard was officially fired. His name was all over LinkedIn, Twitter, and tech blogs. His wife filed for divorce. He deleted all his social media accounts. And me? I was finally free. Richard was gone. Fired. Disgraced. Completely erased from the company he once controlled. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could finally breathe. But the real shock came 3 days later. I was sitting at my desk when an email popped up from an unknown sender. Subject: "You should see this. Hi Sophia, you don't know me, but I used to work under Richard. I heard what you did, and I thought you might want to know. He's trying to get back into the industry. Check the attached file." My stomach tightened. I opened the attachment. It was a screenshot of Richard's job application. He was trying to secure a senior position at another tech firm. He was already trying to rebuild his power. I could have ignored it. I had already won. He had lost his job, his reputation, even his marriage. But something inside me said, not yet. So I forwarded the email to the CEO of that company. Subject: a warning about Richard Green. "Hi. I recently became aware that Richard Green applied for a role at your company. I strongly encourage you to listen to these recordings and review the attached media coverage before considering his employment. Regards, Sophia." It took less than an hour for a reply to hit my inbox. "Thank you for sharing this. We will not be moving forward with his application." Richard was officially blacklisted from the industry. A week later, I was called into a meeting with the executive team. "Sophia," the CEO said, "we've been reviewing everything, and we believe it's time to recognize your contributions properly." I held my breath. "We'd like to offer you the position of Senior Marketing Manager, a promotion. The one Richard tried to steal from me. Only this time, I didn't have to sell my soul for it." I smiled. "I accept." That night, I got one last text. "Unknown, you ruined my life. I hope it was worth it." I stared at it for a second before typing back. "Me no, Richard. You ruined your own life. I just turned on the light so everyone could see it." Then I blocked the number, and that was the end of Richard Green. Looking back, I realized that Richard never expected to lose. He thought I would stay quiet, that I would take the easy way out, that I would be just another woman too afraid to fig wanked. But he was. Standing up to him wasn't easy. There were moments when I doubted myself, moments when I wondered if it was even worth it. But then I remembered. I worked too damn hard to let someone like him decide my future. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that silence is what keeps people like Richard in power. He thrived on fear, on the idea that no one would dare challenge him. But fear only works when we stand alone. The moment I spoke up, others followed. The moment we came together, he lost everything. And me? I didn't just win the promotion, I won back my dignity. So, to anyone out there feeling powerless, don't let them convince you that your voice doesn't matter. It does. And when used wisely, it can bring down even the most untouchable people.